So it's a balmy, beautiful day in Maine. I want to go camping, but it's too cold. So I'm going to work on the camper and make it haul bikes with a bike rack on the back. It's not really made for that, but I'm going to do it. I'm Dave. Welcome to Hammered Ironworks. 40 degrees, Maine. So this right here is my bike rack, and I want to make it go into a 2-inch receiver. Ooh, a little bit rusty. This right here is a camper, but it's got no receiver. And it doesn't even have the structure for a receiver. They say it can't be done. Well, at least at the camper store. So it's time to make it happen. I come from a long line of pack rats. Matter of fact, in college I studied pack ratology. So I've got this right here, old hitch that I pulled out of the dumpster a few years back. And it's got the 2-inch receiver that I gotta cut up, stick on the back of that camper. So it's been determined by the head which wayer of this project that the best way to cut this is going to be with my Sawzall and this fancy blade that I bought, you know, in the harbor where the freight comes in. We'll see how that works. Let's see what that right there does. Not too bad, really. These Silver Streak pencils are pretty good for drawing on metal. I just started using this one here. I like it. Just checking to make sure that this is going to work for my purposes. I just want to check the label to make sure that's definitely rated for what I need to do. So when this receiver was born and manufactured, it was made for the back of some SUV or something. I don't need this piece. I gotta take and just kind of score down along here and crack this top piece off. My camper doesn't need that. Oh yeah, just made it. Oh yeah, you can't listen to this. Copyright stuff. Done. I got my old school creeper right here. She's pretty comfy. So, 68 inches is my span. So these pieces I cut off the outside of that factory hitch. I'm gonna take and like slice them and dice them and try to make them as spacers to go in the frame rail of that camper so I can span the 63 or 65 inch distance. Can't even remember which it is. I'll remeasure. Winning! So the basic idea here is this bracket that I've reclaimed and carved up. That will go up here on the frame rail of the camper. Then I've got this little spaced out drop down. I'll reinforce that and I'll extend that hitch on both sides. Then I can reclaim them factory bolts that come with this hitch and bolt it to the camper. Who hates drilling frame rails? This guy. Yep. So now these side plates, I'm going to bolt them in place so I can figure out my final measurement from side to side and then extend that hitch, weld it all up in place. Here's the deal. There's not much more that I hate in this world than drilling frame rails on trucks, trailers, campers, anything. You lay there and constantly push on my cheap drill bits until they go through the metal. And then sometimes they leave some nice hot curlicues to go down your sleeve, burn your forearms. It's not a good time. I start with a small drill bit. And I use some of this cutting fluid stuff. That stays right up in the little divot I made. That's pretty good right there. I like that. And now I endlessly push on my dull drill bit. And now even a more dull drill bit. And a little bit of lube. Now to make these the right oval size, we'll hog it out. So a little test fit of this nut plate after hogging out those holes. Oh yeah, perfect. So then we got my bracket. I'll hold that in place by putting nuts on the other side. Oh look, a spider. And do the same on the other side, and then I can mock up where exactly that tube is going to come in down here and weld it in. Put the nuts on this side. I forgot to clean the paint off this so I can weld it easier. So I got that side in right there, and you saw me put this side in right here. So I'm going to use this Fat Max, or Chode Max, my buddy calls it, to measure up the distance. Alright, so my hitch overall is 30. I put this in my Palm Pilot when I measured up with the Chode Max. 61 7/8 is overall. So I need it to be 61 7/8 overall. In the middle I've got a 30. Which is the hitch. So math and stuff, we're gonna shoot for like a 16-incher over here and a 16-incher over here, and that's an 1/8 strong, but by the time I square up the ends and everything, I think it's gonna work out. So let me just check that. 32 and 30, that'd be like 62, which is an 1/8 less. Oh yeah, nailed it. So I've come up with my overall length like exactly perfect, probably by accident. Then I beveled the edges where I'm going to make a weld, and I'm trying to make it as straight and true as possible. I mean, it really doesn't matter. This isn't the space shuttle, it's a freaking camper. So I'm going to lay out some cheap paint on this thing before I weld it up in there. When I say cheap, looky right there. Ha! So since these are going to be welded up in the camper and never come out of the camper, I've decided to sort of do a quick and dirty brace here to get rid of any spring that's in this steel bend, and then I'll paint it up. So my welder won't reach out there, so that means the camper has to come in here. Okay, so my goal is to get this thing up in place without dropping it on myself. Then I'll come back with a welder and tack it onto the plates. So I'm trying to be scientific about this. I kind of got this little electronic geometry box here and I zeroed it out on the frame. And then I slide her over here and kind of put it on this. I'm showing about the same angle as the frame, so I'm going to weld it right there. I just tacked it in two places, one on either side, so I could twist it and get the right angle. I think I'll nail it. So I've got it held in place really good. Now it's time to lower it down just enough so I can put the buzz all the way around those tubes. So I've got it pulled down now. I'm going to weld up along the front and top sides on both sides. All welded. So now, before I put it all the way back up in and bolt it, I'm going to take and spray paint it. But first I got to give it a little wipey woo with some eyeball bummer. For those of you who have been around, you know eyeball bummer is actually brake cleaner. And if you haven't been around, well, now you know. Alright, time for a little bit of magical black. So I am pretty happy with that. Boy, that looks good. It's just concealed right down there, kind of like it's supposed to be. Let's take a look underneath. First, here's these three bolts. Nuts, bolts, whatever you want to call them, that hold it on. And then, on the inside, you can see where I welded this onto the plate. Plate's bolted onto the frame. Same deal over here. And nuts on the outside of the frame. Never mind all the fingerprints and stuff. And I still got to put the tube back in here so I can put in the septic drain pipe. But I'll get to that in a minute. Now it's time to test her out. Oh yeah, she's on there. I am happy with that. Before I put this in here, I did some testing on that hitch I put in there to make sure I didn't have any flex anywhere I didn't want it. Honestly, you can take a lot more weight than what these bikes are ever going to offer up. Really happy. The only drawback that I see is I'll probably end up putting a tennis ball on this handlebar right here, just so it doesn't hit up against the camper if we go off-road and hit some big old bumps and potholes. Really happy with the outcome. If you see this thing bouncing down the interstate in Maine, make sure you wave and honk. I'll know why you're doing it. Stay cheap, cheesy, and crafty. Now it's time to go camping as soon as it's warmer than 40. See you in the next episode.